Hey everyone, this video's gonna be a bit different from every other video I've made so far. It's nothing to do with MMA. Uh, since I started, I kind of wanted to do another channel about pop culture and stuff, but haven't had the time to set that up yet. But this, something happened that, just couldn't wait for me to get my shit together to make another channel that I just had to come and talk about. So, Kentaro Miura, the creator of Berserk, a great man, died. I think it was yesterday. I don't know when it was. I came across the news yesterday, late last night, when I was getting ready to go to bed and just looking through some YouTube videos, and one of them said that Kentaro Miura had died at 54, which is just so sad. I had a quick look today, like trying to see what happened. Apparently, it was like an acute aortic dissection or something like that. So it sounds like it was something to do with his heart. And being only 54, like such a talented and inspiring man, that's just a real tragedy. I know his family, his friends, people who actually know him are going to be feeling this much worse than people like me who are fans of his work. And there's even, bigger fans of his work than me. But yeah, I just wanted to come on and pay my respects. Yeah, the last few years, Berserk has really meant a lot to me. It's been something really important in my life, and yeah, I remember coming across it because I was never a huge anime guy growing up. There are a few shows I watched, like Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z and Samurai Champloo are some ones that jumped directly to mind. But I watched them just because they were shows that I liked, not so much that I liked the medium of anime particularly. But a few years ago, I had a really good friend of mine, Rob, come visit me, and he wanted to show me One Punch Man, so he downloaded an app on the Xbox called Anime Lab, which is a great service. It's free if you can handle watching just a couple of ads, and if you like the subtitles, I prefer subtitles to dub, so it works perfectly for me. And yeah, we watched a few episodes while he's here, then he left, and I watched the rest, and I really enjoyed it, so I wanted to watch more anime, and I started watching more anime. I noticed some YouTube channels talking about anime, and then there was this one called Super Eye Patch Wolf, who's got some really good videos. To recommend you check him out if you are interested in anime. And he did one about Berserk, and it said why you should watch Berserk. And I'd seen the name pop up on some other channels and stuff. I'd never really heard of it before. And I watched his video and I was like, okay, this sounds pretty interesting. Game of Thrones was between seasons at the time. I think season 6 had just ended, and I was looking for something like that, a kind of, medieval war type thing. So I'm like, I'll give this a try. And, the first episode, it was good enough to keep me watching. I was like, yeah, that's all right. As anyone who's watched the series knows, the first episode is very different to pretty much the rest of the episodes. But yeah, as it got into the story, I really started getting into it. I really started enjoying it. And Rob came back to hang out one day. And I was like, oh, have you seen this anime Berserk? And he was like, man, have I seen it? Like, because he loved it too. And I think I was up to like episode 12 at the time. We ended up smashing through most of the rest of the season then. And then when he left, I did finish the season, and man, those the eclipse episodes at the end, like I'd never seen something like that. I'd never seen something end like that. But for me, the series made such a huge impact because of the story it told, the message it was getting across, the philosophy that was intertwined all throughout it. And as someone who's suffered from depression since like my entire adulthood, since I started adulthood. The story of Guts being the struggler is really one that resonates with me. It's a very, very much like Sisyphus, a Sisyphean story, if that's a word. How fate is stacked against him. Powers far bigger than anyone could control are constantly trying to hold him down, but he doesn't capitulate. He doesn't break down and give into it. He keeps fighting against it, and yeah, that's just a message that really rang true to me, and I still find inspiration from today. I'm just a normal person. I'm not, enhanced hero like Guts. So I can't do what he does, but just looking at that as an inspiration, like, makes me think, and I know he's not real. It's not like with real people who struggle through things, but just the story, just the influence to think, don't give up. Just keep pushing through, fight against it. And besides just the personal message that had for me as someone who struggled with depression, just the entertainment of the show was something hugely important to me. Something to take my mind off the troubles of the world, even though there's a lot of troubles in the world of Berserk. And part of what was so great about that was like the complexity of the relationship between characters. The main three in particular, Guts, Griffith, and Casca. And I thought it was just a masterstroke of storytelling for Miura to start the series the way he did. So I'm talking about the 97 anime series is what I first got into, and I watched that as a single season. Still my favorite single season of anime ever. Then I watched all the other, like the 3 movies that came out, and then later the 2016, 2017 seasons of anime, which admittedly weren't as good as the 97 one. I didn't hate them as much as a lot of other people seem to. Yeah, the animation wasn't great, but I thought the heart of the story was still mainly intact, which was Miura's influence, and the biggest complaint most people had about those 2 seasons were the animation, because it wasn't in Miura's beautiful style. Not only was it his storytelling, it was his artwork was just a cut above the rest. And yeah, so that 97 series, opening it up the way he did was just such an amazing way to tell a story. And I've heard a lot of people recommend that if you're going to tell someone to watch it, to tell them not to watch the first episode because it spoils something pretty major. But I actually like the way he did that. I've seen a report, and I've seen it quoted in other things, that you actually enjoy things more if they're spoiled. And I'm still the type of person that doesn't want things spoiled. I still want surprises. But, and minor spoilers here, I will say what happens in that first episode. Not what happens in the whole episode, but Guts is going after someone named Griffith, and he clearly has a hatred for someone named Griffith. And going through that season, like, I thought it was amazing that as soon as you go into the flashback back to his childhood, and that's where we go through the rest of the season. It's the Golden Age arc. You're always thinking, oh, there's this guy that's called Griffith that's going to be the villain. And when you're first introduced to him in the first episode, yeah, he's the commander of a force that Guts isn't a part of, and he makes Guts join them. And you think it's going to be this conflictory relationship, but as it goes on, they actually, grow to love each other as brothers. I think Griffith is as more, but that's just an opinion. I mean, as Griffith loves Guts more than a brother. Um, but yeah, that's just an opinion. But the the lingering ominousness of you knowing something's going to happen to mess this all up just added an extra element of intrigue for me. And as it goes on, they just start to love and respect each other so much that you think, hey, something can't happen. He can't go bad, even though there are threads throughout the whole thing, kind of cluing you in to Griffith being somewhat Machiavellian and being willing to sacrifice people and whatnot. But it also shows you his heart. Like, he does seem to care for the little guy. He's willing to let him die for his cause, but he cares about it when they die. And he tries to tell himself he doesn't. That's a beautiful scene when he's in the river after spending a night with a old sleazeball in order to get some money so he doesn't have to fight as many battles and doesn't have to lose as many men to get where he needs to go. And he's trying to tell Casca and kind of tell himself that he doesn't mind when people die for his cause because they've chosen to do that. But you can see it still takes a piece of him every time. So when the eclipse happens at the end, and major spoilers here if you haven't seen it, and he has to sacrifice the entire band, including Guts and Casca, the two people he cares about most, Guts in particular, and he does it, and it's in such a horrific way that just hits you so hard. And yeah, I just hadn't seen anything like it before. So I consider myself kind of lucky because I did come into it late. I did discover it late. I watched all the anime and whatnot. I loved it so much that it's the first manga I ever picked up. I haven't read any mangas before, and I'm still working my way through it because I don't want to read it online. I want to have that, actually feel reading a book, and I want to own all the books as well. So it's something that I can have forever. No matter what apocalyptic stuff happens in the future that may get rid of all our technology or whatnot, I'll still have those books, So it's not necessarily cheap buying them all. So I usually spend a few months, squirreling away a bit and then spend a few hundred on getting a whole bunch of books at once, because I've got a bit of a binge personality. I don't just want to buy one book and read it within about an hour and then be like, now I need to wait for another book. So I'm slowly making my way through the manga. So I'm about halfway through. I've got 21 of them so far and read all those. The first 12 multiple times because at my job, I have long periods where I kind of have to sit around waiting for work, and I always bring a book with me. And those first 12 I had for about a year before buying any more, and I would just reread them over and over and over again. And I never got bored of them, still not bored of them. They're fantastic. But I kind of feel for the people who have kept up with it the whole time and won't get any new chapters again. But that's why I count myself lucky in some ways, because I still have about half the series that's going to be new to me. I know a lot of what happens has been spoiled in the anime, but definitely not all of what it's up to. The manga, I'm up to the end of the Conviction arc. So about to, I'm guessing, start what is in the 2017 season. But yeah, I digress. This was more talking about Miura and my appreciation for him, my thanks for him putting so much of himself into something that meant so much to me and clearly meant so much to other people. And yeah, it's it's a legacy that won't be forgotten, and that he can be proud he's left behind in the world. So thank you, Miura. Your work has meant a lot to me. You've inspired me a lot, and I know you've inspired a lot of other people. And yeah, I hope you can rest now. Thank you all very much, and thank you, Miura, most of all.